Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video, I'd like to go over a pullback strategy using our 1 minute Bullish Pivot Pro. What I'm looking for whenever we see these initial spikes, so say you hear something like CYCC hitting our scanners, letting you know that there is some value there for possible breakout strength and momentum. And so what we're looking for, of course, is going to be the volume down below, which is going to be over here on the histogram. We can see this down below in the green area. Yellow is okay, green, great, red, not so much, right? And we did get a pop over here, but it was paired with very little volume. So this is going to be a higher risk type of setup. But let's just go over this pullback strategy. So whenever you see the spike and reversal, like you see here, and you can set alerts on this indicator just by just clicking on it, and you can go to, let's see, add an alert at the top, and you can choose the alert. So it's on the Pivot Pro. You can choose a bullish signal detected, bearish signal detected, a trend signal detected, or a major red spotted. So there's multiple options that you can choose in here, and you can really experiment with this. You can experiment with maybe getting an alert every bar, every minute, every bar close, whatever you prefer. Once you set that alert, you can have it open-ended. If you have the premium version of TradingView, create the alert, and there you go. So now you'll be alerted every time you get that cross reversal like this one here. So what I'm looking for after a major spike or move or reversal is then a pullback to that trend. So a lot of traders will be, a little uncomfortable buying the break of highs. So say like this, it moves up, gives a BVT, gives a pivot zone, closes above. A lot of traders, they think they missed out on this move, so they won't take that type of trade. It's just too high risk, especially if you're taking this setup here, this close over, and this is the area where you're going to stop out of your position. If you measure that and you say you get in at the close of this here, and all of a sudden it starts to go against you, you could be down 6% to 10% really fast on that trade. And for a lot of traders, that's just too much to bear, and that's completely understandable. So some traders are more comfortable with buying the pullback after the first spike. So after you see the spike, like this one here, you're looking for it to then pull back to the trend. And that's going to be right in this area here. And if I zoom in, you'll see that we tested the area. We did not close below. See this little wick down here on this candle? So you can see it a little bit easier that way. So as we pull down into that area of value, this is going to be like our support, right? So this is like a dynamic support. So as we pull back into that area, I can then buy with the idea of, okay, I'm getting my entry closer to that trend that I'm stopping out at as well. So if I'm getting in at this position around here, we stop out here. This is a manageable stop. It's 2%, right? Or maybe even 4%, something I'm willing to lose on that type of trade. So you can give it a little bit more room. So you can see how that is more attractive to a lot of traders than something like this over here where it closes above the pivot zone and continues. This one did work out. Of course, if you're getting into that position, it would have worked out. And this is one of those situations where you have to decide, the size that you want to take, whether it's worth your full size, or maybe this is a half size or a quarter size or whatever you want to call it, right? A lotto size. You can adjust because you know that this is higher risk, because if you're buying this setup here, it has a chance to pull back 7% to 10% really quickly in a single candle, and then before you know it, you're taking a hefty loss. And if you're not getting major wins on your gains, you're just taking, a few percent each scalp, then a 10% wipeout loss can really wash out a few of those nice wins. So pairing the volume over here, we can see the volume on the histogram, a simple indicator, right, can spot that. And pairing the trend with the pivot zone. Now, of course, that's my favorite type of setup. We're looking for the reversal. Okay, so here's that reversal right here. We did not have volume down below. Okay, so that would be high risk for me to take that trade. We did start to get volume on this yellow histogram bar here on this candle. This candle here. And we did pull back into that area of value. So that is interesting. That's something maybe I would take. But again, because the initial reversal candle was so low in volume, I would be concerned that this candle is a little bit higher risk, right? So it's just kind of common sense. We didn't have a lot of volume on the reversal, so I'm not believing into the strength just yet. So maybe a smaller size here. Well, it worked out, right? We buy into, again, we're buying into the test of this zone, this dynamic support zone. It held the zone and continued. So that is multiple entries on this setup in just a matter of minutes, right? This is a 1 minute chart. This is the close above the pivot zone. So same idea. So if I'm trading this close above that pivot zone, either my stop is going to be down here in this area, or I can always stop out below the pivot zone. So if I get in, say around here, I could have my stop right there, manageable stop loss. Now, if a candle just rips on me, of course, again, I could suffer a deeper loss. So for a lot of traders, again, it's a safer option. It just feels safer to buy the pullback. Now, there's going to be times where something like this happens, where it never pulls back, right? It just continues to go. So you missed out on the initial move, and now you don't want to chase. And that's completely understandable. And this is probably the hardest part for a day trader, at least for myself anyways, is that watching something like this go without you, missing out, being apprehensive on these entries over here, missing out, and then trying to chase this thing and, sitting back and trying to be disciplined and not fall, succumb to that FOMO, that fear of missing out. But this worked out to be an 82% trade for anyone who did get into this position as it continued to gap up. Now, again, same idea. Maybe this isn't the type of move that you're looking for because it's too high risk. It's extending. It's exploding, right? It's hard to trade that. And if you're not into that momentum or you're a little apprehensive in your trading, again, buying the pullback is what we look for. So after this major move, after we start to pick up in volume, same idea. The idea is this dynamic support should hold. And if we can hold that dynamic support, we can then find an entry in that area. We halted down on this candle, I believe, at 11:37 a.m. Eastern time. This was a down candle of 12% negative on this candle. And we tested that area. We opened up in this area of value. We tested and we started to bounce back up here. And it wasn't a huge bounce, but if you're getting in something like this, even that is a quick 5% scalp, almost $1 per share in just a matter of minutes, 2 minutes to be exact. Of course, it didn't hold. It didn't stay up that way. It gave us a signal here and fell down. So again, if you're looking for the long entry, and you can look at this over here, we did have an area of value here. So this is the same idea, closed above the pivot zone, right? So we had a pivot watch signal here to watch, a break of structure signal here, letting us know, okay, this is now bullish. And we had a retest of our zone. It didn't quite test the zone, so maybe I wouldn't get my entry on that. But regardless, getting your entry closer to that zone, that's the idea, because that zone is our area of value. It should then hold. Now, if we're waiting for it to test the zone, we don't get filled because it didn't exactly test it, and it explodes, of course, it's going to be frustrating, right? But it's better than missing out on something that's going to then drop on you and wipe out your gains. So just sticking to your strategy and staying disciplined and consistent, that's how you establish consistent results. So when we look at this here, we then look for the reversal on the trend. So this is our dynamic support. This is still a reversal or a resistance. We had the reversal here. We had a BVT. Okay, it's a little dangerous to be buying that type of entry. Of course, yes, it did work out, but only for about 2%. So not the trade that I'm looking for. If you're buying this type of close above, this was your signal, and then it stops out down here, you're down 8%. You could be down 10% very quickly. So just have to be aware of that and be very careful. Instead, we can look for the retest, which is right here of our zone. So we retested, we spiked up, we retested, okay, we're buying into this area of value, and before you know it, within minutes, you're up 11%, and that's $1.60 per share. So really impressive move, same thing. So now we have the reversal here, we're sitting out, okay, we're watching for another signal, there it is. So here's our signal right here, okay, again, BVT, so it is high risk. Buying this, of course, you'd make a little bit of money there, right, 2%. But that's not the type of move we're always looking for unless you're looking for quick scalps. But this pulled back into that area of value. So say you bought it into this area of value. You did have to suffer a 2% loss at the worst of it. And before you know it, you were up 3%. And over here, just about 5% on that trade, almost $1 per share. So not bad. It's not huge, right? Again, this is not a massive trade, but it's not bad. And again, what we're trying to do is establish a strategy here and stick to it, right? If we stick to the strategy, we'll have consistent results. If we don't stick to the strategy, we're going to have mixed results, and that's just going to be, you're going to have a few nice wins, but then you'll wipe it out with a few nasty losses. So that is something you just want to be aware of. So now, again, reversal. Okay, we're out of our position if we haven't taken profit yet. Here's our reversal right here. Okay, we're looking for the pullback. If you can see it, it's there. You can see right there, pulled back into the zone, pulled back, tested, and continued. If you missed out on that one, that's okay. Here's another test right here. Not a massive win, but again, if you're buying into this zone, all of a sudden you're getting this spike. It's 5%, almost $1 per share in a matter of minutes, right? This is just really nice scalps and sometimes can work out to be trend trades. So if you got the right entry over here on this pullback and you're holding your position, it turns out to be 11%, $1.50 per share. That's a really nice win, right? And again, guys, this is a minute chart, so this is within minutes. And this is just using one indicator. That's our 1 minute bullish pivot pro that I have set on this. We do have other indicators that will help aid in entry and exit. And, I use this in conjunction with our Fib Pro. I use this in conjunction with our confirmation support and resistance. And that's going to give me predetermined resistance areas to take profit into as well. So it's a lot of these areas where it starts to dip, we may have had a resistance there to be aware of and possibly be taking profit. So, and the setting that I have for this example, and this is going to be more of a trend example, this is going to be on the 1 minute bullish pivot pro, and I have the longer trend setting. So longer trend setting in the settings here. If we switch that to a quicker trend setting, you'll see that it changes. Just give it a second here and you'll see it change. And it tightens up a little bit. And what I like about the quick trend setting is that it keeps me a little bit closer to the top of the move. So typically when I'm trailing up with my stop loss and something like this, then it keeps me a little bit closer to the top of this move. So I might be stopped out in this area rather than waiting for a stop out, possibly even lower than that, maybe losing $1 per share in my profit. So same idea though, as we're seeing the reversals, we're looking for the volume to pair with it. It's the same idea here, tested the area. And the beauty of this shorter trend or quick trend on the setting is that you will have more tests of your zone. So here's a test of the zone. Here's a test of the zone. Here's a test of the zone, right? And that's what we're looking for. So every test of the zone is a possible entry with a stop loss just below that. And that's how I typically will trade this if I'm looking for a pullback. Sometimes I will be trading the momentum strategy on this. Sometimes I'm trading the pullback strategy. It really depends, where I'm at that day, where my head's at, if I have a cushion built up and what we have in front of us. If I'm already trading that morning or if this is my first trade, all of this will factor into whether or not I'm taking the trade. But the idea is simple, right, guys? We look for the signal, and again, you can set those alerts just by clicking here, add the alert, or you can go to the alerts up top. But you can just click to the alerts here, add the alert, and then choose your alert. The pivot watch signal, that's going to be, let's see, like this one here. And if you want the bullish signal detected right there, that's going to be this right here. And, that's going to be the trend. So if you want the trend signal, these L and S, the short and long trend settings, these are going to be your trends signals. So trend signals here. So bearish trend signal, bullish signal. You can change those there, and then you have the major red spotter. So it's really up to you. You can experiment with what you want to be alerted on, and again, choose the how often you want to be alerted. Either once per bar, once per close. I like once per close personally myself. I wait for the candle to close to give me the signal. Once you create the alert, then you're just looking for that alert. So if you have a watch list in the morning that you really want to be aware of, you don't want to miss out on a move, set those alerts, and you'll get the alerts. You can get them onto your computer, onto your phone. You can get them pushed to you on your phone, and actually you can trade from the phone. I don't recommend it myself, but everyone's different, right? You do whatever is comfortable for you. That's pretty much it, guys. That is the breakdown of the 1 minute bullish pivot pro, and really experiment with the settings that you prefer. I think if I'm looking for a pullback, I prefer the longer trend setting. It is going to be a tough one to trade at times. Like I said, a lot of the quick moves, you're going to be sitting and waiting. You'll wait for something like this for minutes, and other traders are in chat rooms telling you how much all the buco bucks they're making on this type of move. And just don't get wrapped up in that, guys. You got to focus on what works for you specifically, because if you worry about what's helping someone else where you're not seeing them actually trade or hearing their trades, then it may not be truthful. So just stick to what works for you, and really just make note of that. Make note of what works for you and make the changes as you go on through your trading career. But guys, that is it for today's video. This is a pullback strategy using our 1 minute bullish pivot pro. Really simple strategy. Look for the signal, look for the pullback. Of course, we want to pair that with volume and pair it with whatever indicators that you love to give your signals. As again, the more the better, as long as you're not overwhelming yourself. This is just one indicator here with multiple signals. So I think that's really helpful. But if you have any questions, I'll be in Discord. I'll see you there. And guys, thanks for watching the video.
Remember, trading isn't about being perfect. It's about being prepared. If you're serious about improving and want to learn directly from our live sessions, visit bullishboblive.com. We're live Monday to Friday, walking through setups, strategies, and everything in between. Thanks again for watching. Stay focused, stay sharp, and keep growing.